"What the hell is that?" I shouted, looking outside through one of the windows, the shocking red glow beaming in, as everyone tried to get their footing. That would be the doctor, opening his end of the bargain. "What?" I replied, stunned. "You're kidding me." In the moment, I didn't think about it. I just started running, making my way outside, and everyone else seemed to follow along. I burst through the front door without a second thought, darting my way down the entryway steps and coming to a stop at the bottom as I gazed out at, well, one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. I didn't know how to place it. There, standing at the center of the open space of the property before you reach the gate, was the doctor, holding aloft one of the containers that the messenger had handed to him. An ominous, frightening red glow flowing out of it like a river. Surges of what looked like red lightning arcing off of the stream that flowed from it. That massive stream of red glowing energy flowing up into what at this point looked like a red sun. Just a massive pulsating sphere of energy, broiling with fire, sending off charges of red lightning and arcs of what looked like fire flowing out and then back into it. It was absolutely enormous, and the entire world seemed to be shaking in its wake. It basically took up hundreds of feet. The ground rumbled, and the tile walkways leading from the estate began to crack and shudder, some of them lifting up a bit, as the flow of energy from the container finally stopped. The doctor threw it to the side without a second thought. "There we are. Now that's what I'm talking about." "Come to Papa," he said, extending his arms upward towards the massive red sphere. As he did, it began to lower, slowly moving down towards the doctor as massive streams of this red energy began to flood out from its form, pouring down into the doctor, his arms, his legs, his head. As the energy struck him, it seemed to absorb, whirling around his body, filling him up. As it did, the pinstripes on his suit seemed to alight themselves, glowing a bright, ominous red, even catching fire. The doctor's eyes gleamed a bright red as he absorbed this massive stream of energy flowing down into him, the ball shrinking rapidly as it approached. All the while, he laughed madly as the red light dimmed bit by bit until there was nothing of it left. It had all absorbed, funneled down into the doctor. As this process seemed to finish, for a moment, the doctor leaned over, clutching around himself, as if he was trying to hold it all in. The red glow of the pinstripes on his suit still burning brightly. Finally, they did begin to dim, and as they did, I could see what looked like heat waves and smoke beginning to billow off of the black segments of his suit as that maniacal laughter of his kicked up again. He laughed as he turned around, beginning to look at the rest of us, standing up and finally releasing his hold on the center of his body, smiling wickedly as smoke filtered out from between his teeth. "Oh, it's good to be back," he said as I looked on in horror. What the hell even is he? I thought to myself, staring at him. And in the moment, he extended his right hand upwards, his other hand clasping onto the cane, tapping it into the ground as he pressed 2 fingers together. And then he snapped them. There was a flash of vibrant red light and fire. And from this coalescing fire appeared a gun, a solid black revolver that seemed to have red lines of energy pulsating through it. It floated in the air for a moment before the doctor simply grasped the hilt, pulling the gun down to his face and rubbing it against it. Oh, did you miss, Daddy? I bet you did. It's been far too long. With that, he began to whirl the gun like an old western or something. As he did, there was another flash of red as a holster seemed to appear on his side, in which he rapidly holstered the gun with a flurried swing. There's nothing like a little bit of magic to make the whole world seem a bit brighter, the doctor said as he began to walk in our direction, taking the other canister out of his jacket, tossing it up a bit, and as it landed in his hands. One more dose. I guess I'd better make this last, he said, as he threw the container into the air, once again snapping his fingers, and as he did, it disappeared, as if it evaporated into nowhere. As he approached, I could see the suit that he was wearing, that he always wore. It always seemed to be fairly well kept, but now it was as if the fire and smoke and energy that he had absorbed had pressed and fitted and repaired the suit. Its dark colors now a flawless black, looking as if it were brand new, having a sheen of perfection. The blacks no longer dulled or grayed away. You've gotta be fucking shitting me. You weren't lying. You were magic. Or you are magic. Well, of course. I told you that already, the doctor replied. You should really try to keep up. You're seriously telling me that that was just a sample of your power? You've got another one of those freaking things? Yes, of course. She said they were both equal measure, so I imagine the other container holds much the same amount. It's a shame there wasn't more. The amount that I have seems a trifle now. There's still so many of my tricks that are out of reach. But having access to magic at all, is definitely an upgrade. I just have to be a bit careful about how I use my limited access. Doc, exactly how much magic did you have before this whole magical loss thing? Like, that was just a piece, right? Like, giving an estimate, would you say it's like 25% of what your normal max would be or something like that? Oh, so you want to compare what that was to the full extent of my abilities. Gauge it a bit. A wise enough line of reasoning. So I'll indulge you. Calculating everything up, if I were to place the amount of energy that I just absorbed against my regular maximum supply, I'd say it would range about 0.1%. As he said the words, I felt my stomach roll over. 0.1%? That's it? What? You expected it to be more? I already told you, Jax. My power used to be near infinite. There were people who viewed me more like a god than a man. The pittance I just absorbed is nothing compared to that. I used to be able to snap my fingers and make the world spin in the direction I wanted to. Rewrite anything that I saw fit. Bring the dead back to life. Hop between dimensions. Do battle with the gods themselves. Unfortunately, power like that is now beyond me, which is why I don't simply time travel myself. Cut out the middleman, as it were. If I had enough power to simply snap my fingers and go back in time myself, I'd simply do it. I wouldn't need you for the job. Understand, Jax, just because magic is real doesn't mean it doesn't have very real rules. All things are not equivocable in value. The greater what you wish to gain is, the more power is demanded for it. And the manipulation of time, well, that's a hell of a jump, requiring absolutely staggering amounts of magical power. Even if I were to take this second container, absorb it as well, and utilize every drop of magical power that I was given, I would only be able to jump backwards in time a few decades at most. 60 or perhaps 70 years at best, which is nowhere near enough to complete the task. So, were all people who could cast magic as nuts as you? Did they all have that much juice? You must be joking. If that were the case, we wouldn't have a world left. This entire thing would be nothing but smoke and ashes. No, the supply that I just absorbed was equivocal to that of, I'd say, about an S-tier mage, which is usually the highest category that one can reach. One daily supply of their ability, which puts a very heavy limitation on me. It means I have to be very careful about the spells I choose to cast, which is why I've brought my gun out. It's very useful for being practical, only requiring a small amount of magical energy from me in order to function. It would allow me to save my power unless absolutely necessary. Good to know, I said, looking at the doctor and wondering how exactly I ever managed to deal with him. He talked about the believer as if he had come into real conflict with him, fought him, as if he was trouble. But how in the hell could that work? With all of the power that he at least claims that he possessed, godlike abilities. How in the hell does a normal human being who can die of old age fight something like that? How could I ever fight something like that? The idea itself began to feel absurdist,